Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw, and here we are with the Duraludon solo duo tier list. I also will at the end of this have a little breakdown of what Pokemon carry the best, because oftentimes when you're playing solo, you need to carry. Yeehaw to you and yours. Let's talk about our tier list for today. We have the God tier where only one Pokemon can exist each patch. We're not frickin' Norse around here, okay? We've got one God. We've got our S solo tier hero list. We have our A tier, always fun and good tier. We have the B tier. And I can't tell you how upset it makes me that we still have the B tier. While I seethe over this whole B tier situation, let's brighten my mood by taking a look at today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Maple Story M. Big shout out to Maple Story M, and of course all of you for watching my channel. It's why we are able to get cool sponsors like this to support us. Maple Story M is the mobile incarnation of Maple Story, and it offers an authentic Maple Story experience on your handheld device. There is a new exciting update in Maple Story, which is they are adding the new character, the Cannoneer. Now I know what you're thinking. What is that? Someone who's near a cannon? Pretty good joke. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. What's that? I'm nominated for Worst Joke of the Year? Well, it's an honor just to be nominated. Right now, there are special rewards you get for clearing missions with the Cannoneer. So for any new players, now is the time to play Maple Story M. The Daisy Style Festival Season 2. Register your character and rate other players' styles for event coupons to purchase various rewards in the event shop. With the new Maple Guide UI, you can now view recommended hunting fields and content based on your character's level and teleport directly to the location you've selected. So check out the link in this video's description to download Maple Story M today. Oh, hey, you're back. Still pretty upset about having a B tier, but moving on. We have our C tier, Carmen. These are fine tier. I imagine I'm talking to someone named Carmen and I'm telling her, Carmen, these are fine. They're just not the best. And then we have the Decidueye tier for our absolute worst Pokemon. Interesting stuff's gonna happen in that Decidueye tier, let me tell you that. And I smacked my microphone. I wanna start right away. I'm just gonna do this right away. I have to. This is the God tier Pokemon right now. I'm not gonna build it up. I'm not gonna hide it from you. I'm not gonna be sneaky about it. Duraludon is God tier, broken. I think it might be the most broken release they've ever had. I personally think so. Other people might disagree. There have been a few Pokemon released that are absolutely obscenely broken. I think Duraludon is probably the most broken character that the game has ever released. That's just my thought. I think both of its builds are good. However, I think Dragon Pulse is kind of insane. It steals every objective faster than Hyper Beam. You know, people in my chat the other day were kind of talking to me. Maybe Blastoise's release was a little more. Maybe Greedent's was a little more. Sylveon, they had that immediate nerf because it was doing so much damage. I don't think any of those Pokemon are this broken. I just think this character, more than any character we've had, really feels like which one of them is better, which one can you set up for an objective better. I don't know. I think this character's absurd. I think it's crazy broken. I think it needs a nerf. I think if you're thinking about buying it, you can buy it and enjoy it. But I think this Pokemon and the way it performs is not long for this world. I do believe this is getting a nerf very soon. This Pokemon is crazy. Broken. I don't know what else to say. It's the nuttiest Pokemon ever. Dragon Pulse is absurd. I just think this Pokemon's crazy. While we're on the topic of Duraludon, maybe we can talk about the rest of the attackers on the roster here. And again, we're talking about solo, duo. I think Duraludon's going to be broken and competitive in every respect. I just think nothing is more broken than this character. But let's talk about the rest of the attackers and where we see them on this list here. So let's go with Pikachu. I think Pikachu is either S or A tier, either a solo tier hero or always fun and good. The only issue with Pikachu is you're still kind of at range and it doesn't have amazing secure. Now again, this is only for solo queue. However, I still do think it's one of the best Pokemon in the game, probably the best special attack Pokemon in the entire game, and for that reason, I'm gonna leave it in our S tier for now. I could see an argument saying that it's a little closer to A, just because when you're playing by yourself, You might not be able to have someone sort of support you the way you need to with a special attacker, but your Unite move is up every minute. You do insane amounts of damage. Its only issue really is it doesn't secure objectives super well. However, I mean, Electro Ball does secure them decently well. I think Pikachu's in an amazing spot in the game right now. If you like playing Pikachu, it's never been a better time to pick up the Chew. Let's talk about some more special attackers. Gardevoir. Gardevoir, I think, is always teetering between A and B right now. And given that you just have other Pokemon like Duraludon that might take its spot in the central area or in lane, it kind of shifts it a little bit. I recognize these are different characters, but Duraludon is a very weird character because it is a Pokemon that kind of performs like an auto attack Cinderace type Pokemon, but it also seems to have this insane range and secure of a Dragonite, and it does more damage with its Dragon Pulse really than Gardevoir landing an amazing Future Sight or something like that. And it's easier to do. So that might be close on the damage there. Feel free to correct me, but you understand what I'm saying. Given that Duraludon is so prevalent, I think Gardevoir takes a few steps back, for sure. I love the range of Gardevoir, but you know, as we continue on through the attackers, we'll talk about someone else with also some pretty incredible range. I think A or B, but probably B right now, because a few other attackers are kind of stealing the spotlight a little bit. Still like Gardevoir, still think it's a good Pokemon. I just don't think you're going to see it too much lately, and I haven't seen it much at all. Cinderace. Cinderace is still amazing. I think Cinderace is still a top tier Pokemon. I think Cinderace still needs probably some nerfs or something like that. It's amazing. I don't think it does what Duraludon does, but it's Cinderace. And if you know what's up with Cinderace, you know that this Pokemon has been nutty for a while. It's Pyro Ball is good, but Blaze Kick really is the build for this Pokemon. Its mobility is insane for a Pokemon that outputs that much damage. Its Unite move has pretty decent secure. It burns things really quickly. When I say burning, I literally mean attacking something like an objective or defender, supporter on the enemy team, and just chunking them down super fast. Amazing Pokemon. Cinderace is still great. The only thing that edges out Cinderace is Duraludon. I mean, Cinderace is still crazy good, but Duraludon is crazier gooder. Greninja, where are you, Greninja? There you are, buddy. I think Greninja is probably A tier, a little under Cinderace. I still think amazing. And when you're talking about solo play, I mean, it's probably better to say as a hard carry potential, Greninja is a little better than Pikachu here, but they are very different, right? We're kind of talking about different attacker roles within that one role itself. So you have attackers, you have sort of the special attackers like Pikachu and Cramorant and Gardevoir, and then you have the more ranged attack damage Pokemon like Greninja and Cinderace and Duraludon in a weird way. And then you have sort of this hybrid category. I mean, Sylveon's kind of a weird hybrid inside there, and I think Decidueye is kind of carving its own path inside there, which we'll get to in a moment here. The only reason I even shift Greninja down slightly is because of Cinderace. I think Cinderace is better, but both have insane carry potential, and the skill ceiling is higher on Greninja, meaning I think if you're better with Greninja, you are more impressive and more useful at times than a decent Cinderace, but it takes a while to get really good with Greninja. I think a solid A tier pick, and depending on how well you play with it, probably moving up to this S tier right here. Let us see. Ninetales. Ninetales so good right now. Ninetales so good right now. I don't even know. I hesitate. I can't put it in the S tier yet because we just haven't spent enough time with it, but Ninetales went from like a C tier Pokemon, I think definitely all the way up to A. It is also a weird hybrid, but what it can do now, just the mobility that you're given, the dash that you have with Aurora Veil, you're seeing this on competitive teams, you're seeing it dominate solo, you get life steal inside that Aurora Veil. It's just so much better now, and it's always been a Pokemon that really controls the lane very well. So when you're playing solo, you might have a Pokemon up in the top path or something like that, or the bottom path, that you want to really rock that lane with and really hold it down. Ninetales is so brutal, so difficult to deal with. It's so hard to deal with this Pokemon in lane. If you're a weak laning Pokemon, like let's say a Greninja, a Garchomp, I mean, there's a lot of people on this list. Gengar, you're looking, you know, at, who else is a pretty weak laner? You know, Machamp's gotten a lot better. But just looking at a lot of these Pokemon, if you're a weak lane Pokemon going up against Ninetales, good luck. Because, I mean, you're just going to have the most frustrating time dealing with this Pokemon. So much better now. The buffs are so good for Ninetales. I can't wait to see if people use it competitively. But here, solo duo, especially duo, ooh, amazing. Such an amazing Pokemon. Venusaur. I think Venusaur's still S. I think here's the situation with Venusaur. We're talking about solo play. I think competitively we might see Venusaur get knocked down a few pegs. We're gonna have to see. But solo, it still survives forever. You still have Petal Dance and Giga Drain. I think Solar Beam, in my opinion, the Solar Beam build is worse now because of another Pokemon that we'll talk about here in a sec, but I still think Venusaur is amazing. The only thing that really hurts Venusaur is Duraludon, but Duraludon kind of hurts everything in the entire game, basically. There are a few Pokemon that counter it decently well. Let's see. Cramorant's here. Might as well just talk about Cramorant right now. Cramorant got a weird quasi-buff, then nerf, so its dive got nerfed, but its boosted attack damage got a buff. The way its boosted works, got a buff. So you kind of get a little Cram buff there. Okay, and then they nerf its Air Slash. You know, Cram has been in such a bad position for so long. The idea that they nerf it at all makes no sense to me. This Pokemon is nowhere near competitive. It's not very good solo. I don't know what to say. It's one of the most disappointing Pokemon in the game for me right now, and I love Cram. So, sorry to say it, but Cramorant is now in the Decidueye tier. Hate to break it to you, Cram, but that's where you ended up. Sylveon. I think Sylveon's B or C even. So, maybe C. Maybe B. I don't know. Sylveon is so mid. It's such a meh Pokemon to me. It's okay. Pretty decent early. Here's the thing about Sylveon. It's actually pretty good because it evolves at level 4 and gets its big move. And that move is actually pretty strong. But boy, that advantage goes away really quickly. I mean, yes, early, pre the 7-minute mark, you're doing pretty good. But it's such a small portion of the game. I think Ninetales does it better. For the most part in that moment. And then after that, I don't know, you don't do enough damage with Hyper Voice. You're not really securing objectives anymore because of Pokemon like Duraludon. So Hyper Voice builds kind of whatever. The mobility of other characters also really doesn't help you. And then Mystical Fire just doesn't do enough single target damage. It's interesting because when they nerfed Sylveon, it all made sense. Sylveon was very powerful when it was released. But now that they've nerfed it, I think Sylveon's been under-nerfed, especially when you see a Pokemon like Duraludon come out. I don't know. Maybe B. I'm just so not impressed by Sylveon right now. And it's a bummer because I really like playing Sylveon. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on you, buddy. I don't know. B or C. I'm kind of thinking C right now. I'm just so bleh on this Pokemon. I don't think it fills any good role in the game right now. Who else do we got? Are those all of our attackers besides Decidueye? Decidueye obviously would normally make its way to the Decidueye tier, and I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic. I think this Pokemon might be even better than I'm saying right now, but I'm gonna put it in the B tier right here. I don't even know what to say. I mean, part of me wants to put this Pokemon in the A tier, but I think that's premature and a little crazy. But we need to understand that this Pokemon went from terrible, one of the worst in the game, if not the worst Pokemon in the game, and now, because of a Pokemon like Duraludon and because of the buffs that Decidueye got, it's in such a unique position. It outranges the new most menacing Pokemon in the game and does absurd damage at that range. Duraludon has very little mobility, so if you can aim it right with Decidueye, you can pick it off in 1 or 2 Spirit Shackles depending on the HP of Duraludon. So what happened is Spirit Shackle has gotten a ton of buffs, and right now it's actually pretty dang good. what they have with Decidueye is they've got kind of this weird thing. They have this Pokemon where it shreds with Razor Leaf, which has always been okay. That was kind of the build. And then you've had this sniper build with Spirit Shackle. And Spirit Shackle just never did enough damage. It was like, yeah, what are you gonna do? But now its damage is nuts. Its range is nuts. The way the charge up on it is super fast. Its Unite move actually does decent damage right now. I might even be underselling Decidueye. Maybe I'm wrong. This is all brand new, of course. You know, we've only had these changes for about a week, but I'm going out on a limb and I'm saying I think Decidueye is pretty dang good right now. It might be low A. It might be low A. Can't believe I'm saying it. I think those are all of our attackers there. If I missed one, I'm just dumb. Let's go on to another role here. Okay, let's talk about a role that I think has gotten some interesting changes to it, and that is the Speedster role. So, Talonflame. I think Talonflame is still solo queue an S tier Pokemon. You could definitely argue that that's not the case competitively, which is not exactly what we're talking about, you know, a competitive 5-sec, even though you do see it. You see it in score comps, and you see it not in score comps. I think solo, it's still pretty amazing. You can get in on Duraludon. You can also, if you're using Fly or Brave Bird, I mean, Brave Bird, you can just get away from it. But Fly, you can kind of negate its Dragon Pulse damage. It's pretty solid. It's really hasn't gone anywhere, and it's honestly the only defender that I'm super... Defender. I don't know what I'm looking at. It's the only speedster that I'm super impressed with in the game right now. I think Talonflame is still very good. Its Unite move charges extremely fast. It has great secure on objectives. I will still say yes to Talonflame. I think Talonflame is still in a great spot in this game. Again, solo. This doesn't really... Solo duo. This doesn't really work competitively. I don't think it's S tier right now, although I do think it's still very good. Let's talk about Absol. Absol, I think, is B. You know, at times I think Absol's a little bit better. I think solo people actually... I might even put it A. And this is the only time I think it would be A, is maybe solo or duo. And it's because... against a coordinated team, this Pokemon is no good. It doesn't make its way into any competitive lineups. It just doesn't work in any real competitive build. However, solo, you're really able to dominate the enemy team with it. The only thing holding it back, I think, is its late game team fights. But I do think it's a pretty solid Pokemon. This is either the top of the B to you or the bottom of the A. Again, specifically for how hard it carries in solo queue. It's kind of gotten hurt a little bit, I feel like, by Duraludon, just because Duraludon can stand 8,000 miles away from it and KO it for no reason. Maybe because of that, and Absol needs to get in so close. Maybe because of that, it's actually top of B. I think I'm going to put it top of B right now. Yeah. I think so, especially with Ninetales is even more mobile. I'm going to say top of B for Absol. Still a really good Pokemon solo. It is. Another interesting change is Gengar, who solo, it's definitely way higher than it used to be. It might be B or A as well. It's kind of here with Decidueye. So it got a minor buff. It got a minor buff. You know, at least on paper, it looked like a minor buff. But for some reason, this Pokemon is really dealing out the damage. It's weird, but with Gengar, especially with the Shadow Ball Dream Eater build, if you get a KO, you reset your cooldowns on Dream Eater so you can get another KO. Well, if you made it slightly easier to get those KOs, if they're just happening a little bit more, you're resetting this Pokemon to get another. So the damage on this Pokemon, it feels like a little shift has kind of changed the damage exponentially. Like it hasn't gone in a straight line. Like, oh, it's, you know, 30 more special attack, a little more boosted attack. Great. Its damage popped up a little bit. It feels like, no, its damage kind of skyrocketed from this. And my only assumption here is that basically it's been given enough special attack that it makes getting KOs that much easier, and because of that, you are now able to get another KO. It just kind of, every KO Gengar gets can lead into another KO, and to the point where you're, you know, getting huge multi KOs on the enemy team. It's been in a tough spot for a long time. It's definitely not one of the best Pokemon in the game, but solo, it's kind of a monster at times. I hesitate to put it up in A, but I could kind of see it there. Actually doing pretty well. Gengar's doing pretty well. Zeraora. I don't like Zeraora right now. I can't say it's as bad as Kramer. I can't say that it's as bad as Cramorant. It's better. I think Zeraora is a mess right now. I really do. I think its leveling is a mess. I think its wild charge, it doesn't land as often as you would expect it to. You know, this was happening to me on stream the other day. I don't know if I'm getting popped out of it or what is happening with it, but it's getting canceled a lot more. I just think Zeraora is, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing with this Pokemon. Why does it take to level 10 to get its Unite move? It's not that good of a Unite move. Why does it take to level 14 to upgrade its second move? This Pokemon is not overpowered, so the leveling on it makes no sense. I think Zeraora is in such a bizarre place in the game right now. I don't even know what to say about it. What is going on with this Pokemon? It's so confusing what they're doing with Zeraora. It's almost like they forgot about it. I feel like at times they forget about things. Like they forgot about Mime for a while. We could talk about that in a little bit, but Zera. For me, especially solo, it is the most disappointing speedster right now, for sure. It really is. And those are all the speedsters we got. We don't have a new one yet. Hopefully we'll get a new speedster soon. Let's head on over and talk about, you know what? I was just talking about the supporters, so let's talk about them. A caveat before I get into Pokemon like supporters, defenders. When you're playing specifically solo, they all lose an incredible amount of value. And that's because you could be paired with a team that just doesn't take advantage of what you're doing. So while I'm going to rank these, understand that if you're playing only solo, some of these Pokemon really just don't give you the opportunity to win like an attacker or speedster or all-rounder or something like that might. So that is kind of my little preamble to some of our conversations around supporters and defenders. And I'll try to make it clear what I mean by their placement, because they are sort of ranked against themselves, right? You're kind of ranking a supporter against Pikachu because I'm putting them all on a tier list, but you're also talking about them in relation to other supporters. Let's talk about Blissey. Blissey's a weird one. Blissey is C tier because you can't carry with Blissey at all. You can't. You need an ally to be doing something good. However, Blissey is the only Pokemon that seems to have a support sort of counter to Duraludon. So Blissey's Safeguard kind of counters Duraludon. And on most teams, you're going to see a Duraludon, especially as you get into the higher ranks. Now, as you're climbing rank, you don't always see Duraludon, but when I'm playing in Master Rank, that's all I see is Duraludon. So it's weird. But alone, just completely alone, without Duraludon, I think this Pokemon's low. It's a great Pokemon, but you have to rely on your team. However, given that you see so many Duraludons, I think that puts it kind of firmly into a B tier setting. I think that's where this Pokemon would go. Yeah, and it's because of how it reacts to our current crazy meta Pokemon. Let's talk about Mr. Mime. I don't know if Mr. Mime's B or C. I'm kind of thinking it's C. It might be B. So here's the thing with Mr. Mime. It got a buff to its Psychic and Guard Swap, but they're not great moves. They're good. Well, Psychic's never been good. Let me be clear. Guard Swap's always been good. You've seen it on some comps. It used to be used on score comps, and yeah, I mean, you can solo with it. It's not the worst move, but you always tie it with Confusion, and now Confusion has gotten a nerf. I'm going out on a limb. I think, you know, I hope this tree branch doesn't break, but I'm out on a limb here. I'm going to kind of say it's in C tier right now. Basically, these Pokemon are fine. Carmen, like I said earlier, this is the Carmen, these are fine tier, but I'm kind of confused by all of them. It should be the Carmen, I'm kind of confused by all these Pokemon tier, because I just don't understand the reason for the nerf. It was used somewhat competitively. A lot of the teams had abandoned it at this point. And I know Psychic needed a buff for a long time, but it's still not great. I think it's kind of C. That's my opinion on it. Kind of a C tier Pokemon, for sure. Let's take a look at Eldegoss. Eldegoss, I think, is always S or A. Competitively, you're probably going to see it up here because it's one of the only Pokemon that has sort of a team-wide heal shield sort of thing going on. However, we are talking about solo duo, and I think it loses value. So solo duo, it's still great. You can still secure with it, but I'm going to put it here in this A tier. I haven't spent enough time with it since this patch to see if the nerf to its shield is so significant that it's not going to get much play, but I still think it's probably pretty solid. Given that it's support, I could see someone saying, it's actually probably closer to B tier, but its Leaf Tornado and Unite move has pretty good secure, and sometimes in a solo or duo game, you just have to get these last hits on these objectives, and it's a Pokemon that can do that. So I'm going to put it here into the A tier. Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff's always amazing. It's your solo, so I can't really put it in the S tier, but I think it's an A tier Pokemon. I think it's super solid. You could play either build with it, Rollout, or you could play Sing. I think both are good. I've noticed some people running Double Slap lately because I think it kind of messes with Duraludon when it's trying to use its Unite move. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I see people doing. You also can use Rollout to knock people up and knock them out of moves. So I think Wiggly is great. It's hard to put any support in the top tier in this game because they are in essence, they are supporting another Pokemon that is hopefully able to do a little bit more. Hoopa is a Pokemon I would maybe say was S, but now I also think is probably A. I don't think it's too much lower than that. I think it did get some nerfs that are considerable, and we're gonna have to see if coordinated teams are still trying to run it, but the utility of its Unite move is amazing. That being said, if no one goes through your portal, no one goes through your portal. It has the curse of being a supporting Pokemon. I still think it's very, very good. In fact, I think all the supporters are very, very good. Except I do think Mime is just a little underwhelming right now. But I think all the supporters are very good. They just all have that issue. You're supporting someone, and maybe that someone is not participating with you. Let's talk about some of the defenders while we're on a class of Pokemon that all kind of need someone there to be extremely good. Well, except for one. Let's start with the one who doesn't need anyone. Greedent. I think Greedent is still an S tier Pokemon. It did get a nerf, so its invading is not as good, but we're talking about solo duo play here, and almost no Pokemon does what this Pokemon does, affects the map the way this Pokemon does. The only thing holding it back is that it's not a big shiny refrigerator, but besides that, I think Greedent is still one of the best Pokemon inside the game, and actually you can punish Duraludon pretty hard with it if you're able to just get in there and start, you know, covet belching it or bullet seeding it. You do pop it up with that covet. You know, you can drain its health pretty quickly with its moves. I think Greedent is not a huge counter to Duraludon, but Greedent's also super tanky, so you can kind of deal with that Pokemon. Solo, it's the best defender by far. No one comes close solo. Let's see. Another really good solo defender. So this is solo only. I think this Pokemon loses value competitively. I'm going to say Blastoise might be A. Now, again, I am comparing it to a lot of defenders more than I'm comparing it to, let's say, you know, Cinderace. But Rapid Spin is a lot better right now. Surf Hydro Pump's still very good. It's the most self-sufficient. You can secure things and get some decent KOs with its Unite move. I think it's either high B, low A, but since I'm kind of putting each class together, I think this is about where you would see someone like Blastoise. I would like to say Crustal's up there, but I think Crustal is... I think it's either B or C, and only because it can take some objectives. I think I gotta put it C, I think. I almost want to say D, but it's a little more useful than the Pokemon in the D tier for me because it does have some objectives secure. The problem is you're trying to secure against Duraludon. I mean, that's really what it is. You're securing against Duraludon or maybe a Decidueye or something like that. So because of that, I think its Stealth Rock and its ability to secure objectives actually is hurt by these other Pokemon that burst things down with crazy amounts of damage faster. It's just, yeah. And it doesn't do what Greedent does. So I have to say I think it's a C tier Pokemon, maybe even moving into the Decidueye tier. Who else do I want to go with? Let's talk about Snorlax. Snorlax is B, C. Solo, Snorlax is C. for sure. It's a really rough solo pick. It just doesn't give you enough options to win the match by yourself. However, it's good. Like, the thing about Snorlax is it's different from Crustle in that I think it's actually pretty decent. It's not like they need to buff it necessarily. It's just that it's a defender, right? Crustle, on the other hand, is a unique style of defender that doesn't work particularly well inside the game's current meta. Snorlax kind of does work in the meta. It's just you might not have a team that reacts to what you're doing, and it can't carry that well by itself. So I think low B tier, C tier with Snorlax solo duo. That's kind of where I'd leave this Pokemon. Mamoswine I think is a bit better than Snorlax, but I still think it probably falls into the B tier here. It's good. You know, Snorlax is good, Mamoswine's good. I think Mamo carries a little bit better than Snorlax at times, but you've still got the issues of it being a defender, and Mamoswine's Unite move is terrible. It's a horrible Unite move. I don't know what they're doing with that Unite move. In general, this Pokemon's in a better spot than it's been in a while. But you're a solo defender. You don't do enough damage. It's hard to secure things. Your Unite move is meh. I think you're B tier. You're good, but you're not amazing. Same thing with Slowbro. I almost want to put Slowbro A. Only comparing him against other defenders, I think he's A. Comparing him against everything in the game, we'll talk about solo carries in a minute here. I'm just going to put him up here in A because I am comparing him to other defender picks. So I think it's competitively the best defender in the game right now, right? Maybe Greedon. Greedon gives it a run for its money, but again, totally different. Competitively, it's the most used defender in its kind of role in a lane. It's really, really good. You, of course, still need a team to support you. The build is definitely Surf. You definitely want to use Surf. A lot of people use Amnesia. I wonder if Telekinesis will get any more popular, but I don't even know. Does Duraludon block Telekinesis? That Pokemon's so insane. The nice thing about Surf is once it's upgraded at level 11, you actually can get rid of Duraludon's passive with it. So one knockup won't be caught, but the others will, which is pretty cool. It's a really, really good defender. Not that amazing if you're all by yourself. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Next is Trevenant. Trevenant's terrible. Love you, Trev. I appreciate that they buffed him. These buffs did not help Trevenant. It is not better. It was better. But Pain Split is a painful move. It is not good. Woodhammer is a little bit better. This Pokemon is just... I get the mechanics of it. It just doesn't output enough for the mechanics of it. This Pokemon does not work, especially solo. It's not good. Do not play this Pokemon solo. You're just going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad time playing it solo. Let's talk about our all-rounders right now. We've got... Who do we want to start? Okay, let's do the easy one. Lucario. Lucario is S tier. Lucario is one of the best Pokemon in the game. Lucario has been one of the best Pokemon in the game. Power-Up Punch, Close Combat, still good. After the nerf, Extreme Speed, didn't get nerfed, still amazing. Lucario dominates in lane. You can get a lot of KOs with it. You can do a lot of damage. You can secure objectives. Lucario is amazing. It's an amazing Pokemon. It's definitely an S tier Pokemon. For sure, it's still incredibly good. I think Charizard is actually pretty dang good. Solo. The only issue is it feels like you get canceled out of your Unite move a decent amount, but I do think it's an A tier Pokemon. In fact, a lot of the all-rounders actually do pretty well solo because they can carry matches, and Charizard's no exception. I think Charizard's very good. A little weaker just because there are other options as always, but I think Char is still doing pretty dang good. I would consider it an A tier Pokemon. Garchomp's weird. Garchomp's weird because it's pretty good. It's in the best place Garchomp's ever been. It has a very specific play style, which doesn't always work for the team, but if you can get it going, it's pretty incredible. I think it's B or C. I think it's, to me, I'm not as confused by Garchomp as it used to be. This used to be one of the worst Pokemon in the game for people who, you know, have not seen a lot of my tier lists or have not been following the game since its release, but it's gotten a lot better. It's just kind of... Yeah, the biggest issue with Garchomp is I think there are so many Pokemon that you should pick instead of Garchomp. Not only out of this role, just, I mean, I'm saying all across the board, there are so many Pokemon you should pick instead of Garchomp. But it's okay. Solo, it's okay. It's B. I think it's B. I think Machamp is A. Machamp is A, teetering into S. So I think Machamp's really good. Its Unite move is pretty incredible. It's good in lane now. Machamp is just so much better now. If you're comparing it directly against Charizard, I think Machamp is better than Charizard. But in general, things that are all hovering in this tier are good in this tier. I think Machamp is really, really solid. We were seeing it a little more competitively, but I don't know that we're going to. I wonder if people are going to try to use it to sort of counter Duraludon a little bit, just jumping in there and kind of trying to delete it really fast. But, you know, even when you use its Unite move, you might actually push right past Duraludon's heavy metal passive, which is kind of crazy. I think it's good. Good, almost unbelievable up there with Lucario, but it just doesn't get to Lucario levels. Zarina's an interesting one. Purely solo, I think this might be one of my most controversial placements on this tier list. Is I think it's kind of A. I think it is. I think Stomp's really good, but this is only solo. This isn't competitive. This is solo duo. I think it's actually pretty dang good right now. I think it's way better than it was with Stomp. I think Triple Axel's not really there, but I think it deletes things pretty well. I mean, if you can Trop kick in, jump on Decidueye's head twice, you know, do a little Mario, boink, boink, and all of a sudden, that Pokemon's gone. Same with a lot of Pokemon on this list. Get a few stacks of that attack weight. Yeah, I think Serena's pretty good. Again, solo specifically, and it's because it can carry super hard. You can get a lot of KOs with this Pokemon. I could definitely see the argument that it's closer maybe to the high Bs, but I actually think it's pretty good solo. Dragonite's a weird one. I'm going to put Dragonite in C. And the big reason it's in C is because outrage build. How many times is it going to take me to say that? Outrage build. Sip of coffee here. Good. The caffeine will make me focus. So the outrage build is not good. I do not think it is a good build. It's fun, and you can do some fun brawling with it, but yeah, it's just not very good. And then you have Hyper Beam, which has now been completely outclassed by two Pokemon. Decidueye doesn't need to charge up its stacks of Hyper Beam the way Dragonite does to secure an objective. It can be really far away and secure it if you're aiming your arrows correctly. And then you have Duraludon, who can secure any objective by pressing one button. Because of that, I think Dragonite is in a much worse position right now. I can't think of too many good reasons to play Dragonite. And now we have Aegislash, who I think, just given the options around it, is either C or B. I'm going to put it B. Here's the thing. I kind of think it's C. In a weird way, I kind of think Garchomp and Aegislash are both C. But it's not terrible. It's just not that good. It's a weird Pokemon because, you know, Pokemon Unite, they release Pokemon in all shapes and sizes, balance-wise. You have a Pokemon like Dragonite who was released, and the entire game revolved around how Dragonite played for a little while. And then you have a Pokemon like Trevenant, and the entire game revolved around not Trevenant. And then you have Aegislash, didn't really affect the meta of the game that much, right? And then you have someone like Duraludon that affects the meta of the game considerably. So I would say that Aegislash is low B. I'm gonna put it low B. It's not terrible, and it's also not very good. And as I'm talking about it, I'm putting it in C. That's what I'm doing. It's just not that great. It's okay. C is okay. These are all okay Pokemon. D tier are the worst Pokemon. Those Pokemon, I don't even know what to say about those Pokemon. And I'm not going to be switching it up right now. I'm actually going to be taking you over to just a quick list of what Pokemon I think carry super well. Okay, again, this is going to be a lot quicker, but I'm just organizing these Pokemon into what carries well, what is pretty decent at carrying, what's kind of a weird borderline thing, and what just doesn't carry at all. So Absol, really good carry. I think Blastoise, it's kind of in the middle there. No, Blissey, not at all. Charizard, pretty good carry. Cinderace, amazing. Cramorant, not really, but it's okay. No, not Crustle, not Eldegoss. Garchomp, I think, is kind of a B tier carry, honestly. Gardevoir, High B, maybe. Gengar? Yeah, I think it's a good carry. Greedent, weird. It's a B tier. It doesn't carry super hard, but it does kind of carry at times. Greninja, super carry, amazing. Lucario, I think is close to a super carry, but it might be higher towards a good carry, but it doesn't only carry with damage. So thinking about a lot of these Pokemon, they're kind of knocking out tons of enemy Pokemon so that you can do what you need to do. I think Lucario probably veers into the super carry, but it also is just amazing because of its objectives. Machamp, a very good carry, yes. Mamoswine, yeah, I don't think so. No. Mime, I don't think so. It used to be a little bit better. Ninetales, I think actually kind of moves into the A tier right now. Pikachu, a very good carry. I think so. Slowbro, no. Snorlax, no. Sylveon, B. It's really low B. Really low B. Talon is a super carry. Venusaur is a super carry for sure. Wigglytuff, no. I mean, no. Zeraora, really low B as well. Really, really low B. Decidueye, I don't know where to put you right now, but I'm going to put you top of B. Top of B. I'm just still unsure. Serena, bottom of A. Dragonite, I don't think it carries that well. Trevenant, terrible. Aegislash, bottom of B for sure. Hoopa does a lot of damage, but no. I'm gonna say no. And then Duraludon's a super carry. So I just wanted to do that for you right there. Again, these aren't necessarily ranked in any order, but just all those Pokemon at the top there, they can carry super hard. The ones in the row below that are pretty dang good carries, and everything in the B tier has its moments, but I don't think it's unbelievable as a carry. I hope that helped you. I'm just trying to give you some information for everyone playing solo and duo out there. I'll talk more about competitive play, especially after this weekend, because I think there is a lot of interesting things that we are going to see. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I love you very much, and I will see you all next time. I'll move this around. Actually, I'm just moving the whole thing. Woo, woo, whoa, whoa, whoa. Here we go, go, go. And that's the big thing here is Trevenant is now a super good carry because of Pain Split. It's such a good way to mitigate some of the other hyper carries in the game. Just get next to them, use Pain Split, and then all of a sudden they're being punished for doing damage. You really can't beat that. I hope you enjoyed this tier list. Thanks everybody. Love you very much. On Wednesdays we wear pink.
I wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles and we'd all eat it, be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
No, I just have a lot of feelings.
Okay, go home.